Well, it was 2001. I was 26 years old. Dave was 23 years old. I was working for my former boss, who's now one of our partners, Joe Casino. And we were both at that point where, no families, no kids. We were eager to take a risk. Our grandfather was an entrepreneur. We had kind of always seen that, like growing up with a family where there was a family business. And I felt like I knew how to do the PT side of it, and I had no idea how to get paid. And Dave was working a job where he was doing that side, and so we just jumped in. We didn't know much.
Yeah, I guess it was always like the dream of having your own business and starting a business. That was always the dream. Like Mike said, watching our grandfather, we kind of always knew that if you worked hard, you would have success, and that was kind of our guiding light from the beginning. And then we tried to get smarter as we've gone and tried to work smarter. We've made a lot of mistakes throughout the history of the company, but working hard was always our guiding light.
We started with one office in Freehold. That was November of 2001. And then it probably was a year and a half or so when we opened up Manchester as our second office. But I'd say the first six months were really tough. I think both of us were thinking like, what are we doing? Why did we do this? But we just worked. We're workers. We're grinders. We grind our way through it, and then things started to turn a little bit, and then Mike Mundry joined the team, and then we weren't looking to grow. That wasn't really our objective. But then as great people joined the team, and they were doing awesome work. And then, it was like a doctor would say, hey, we need a PT place in this area because we just don't have somebody we can trust. And so, Dave would figure it out. He'd say, all right, well, we'll find us a location. And then, we'd have somebody who was alongside working with me for 50 hours, 60 hours a week. They knew kind of what the expectations were and, plug them in and they'd run with it, just trust great people and great things happen.
Yeah, there were definitely times when, as it was growing, we were, as Mike used to always say, holding the tail of an alligator, and the alligator would get bigger. And we definitely felt those times. But if what's always been the success factor for us is working with the right people. And we've always surrounded ourselves with great people, and that continues today, and that's always been our biggest key to success is working with good people that have the same vision. And then a big part of it too, and we talk about it all the time, is watching the experience from the patient side and seeing how this company, this Atlantic Physical Therapy, and the people working behind it have such an impact on the lives of the people in the community. And that's been a really strong piece to the business. And then, that feel-good feeling that you get at Atlantic Physical Therapy has continued to today.
Yeah, I think that we never set out to... There's not a financial objective. There never has been. It's always been about trying to make the experience every single time for every single patient that walks through the door, make it something greater than what they expected. We just want to exceed their expectations. That's from the greeting that they get when they arrive, or maybe that's the person who picks them up and drives them to their appointment, to the interaction that they have with the support team and then with the physical therapist. They're going to get a clinical outcome better than they expected, that they're going to be received warmly and walk out the door after that experience and just say, wow, that was amazing. That was more than what I expected I was going to get. And we're continuing to this day to try and kind of perfect that experience. But if we take care of that, then, the company will always be able to survive financially, we feel. So That's always kind of been our vision, and I think that we've gotten better over time at actually getting out of the way of the great people on our team, and then their strengths emerge. And it's not the limited strengths that Dave and I have, it's the strengths of each of those individuals, and they get to take on more responsibility, and then you watch them blossom. And that's why this organization is so dynamic, and it's like a living organism that's just blossoming because of all of those great people who have their own unique talents. I think that at this point, and we've kind of really started down that path. I mean, we started out and we were straight kind of outpatient physical therapy, and that's what we did, and really tried to do that better than anybody. But then there are a lot of things that people deal with that maybe we couldn't really help them, so we'd have to send them out to go and get that type of care. Now we try and really sit with the team and the individuals and say, hey, what are you passionate about? What do you want to be great at? Maybe that's not just straight outpatient PT, and they identify what that is, and then we'll support them in becoming an expert in that area, and now we're able to, within our Atlantic ecosystem, provide expert level care for these other areas that are very in depth, still within therapy or rehabilitation. And I think we want to continue to go down that path, so that if a patient comes to Atlantic and they have some complex problem that someone like me, who's kind of just lived in the straight outpatient PT orthopedic kind of side of things, it's not in my wheelhouse. There's probably somebody on our team who it is in their wheelhouse, and then they can go and have a session with that expert, and maybe that expert can then guide the people in the local office to provide the right level of expertise, or maybe they go and have multiple sessions with the expert, but they don't have to leave the Atlantic kind of ecosystem to get expert level care in our areas that we serve. So that's something that we're trying to continue to develop, because we've seen such growth in each of those clinicians when they're pursuing what they're most passionate about. And then the rest of the team grows in that area of knowledge because they're sharing that knowledge with the rest of us too. So that's what's kind of lighting my fire right now.
That has formed by allowing the employees and our team members to follow their passions. And, as Mike touched on it, if you go to work and you're happy and you're doing what you love, everybody's going to experience that. And that's really something we've always tried to create at Atlantic Physical Therapy for everyone, myself included, Mike included, every team member, everybody that's on the team. We want people to be happy when they go to work, and we think that we're doing a good job with that, and the results are kind of speaking for themselves. Yeah, I would say Hurricane Sandy was a big challenge for not only for our business, but for our area and for all the people that we work with. That was, as I look back over the history of the company, that was a really tough time for us. But I think we did a great job of managing through that, and I think that it shows like the spirit of the people of New Jersey, and everybody. If you were in Ocean and Monmouth County, it was the epicenter of Hurricane Sandy, and everybody experienced that. And I think New Jersey showed its grit during that time, and that's just one historic event that kind of sits in my head.
And the other one that's more present was COVID. That situation was a time where I think, Dave and myself and the leaders of the company, we kind of had what we called the war room, which was like a room in our little headquarters where we would come together, and in those early days when the pandemic was just coming, onto all of us, we would kind of go into that room and almost like really be deliberate about, like, if you're going to enter this room, leave fear out in the hallway, and we're not going to make any decisions in a fearful state. And not that we didn't have fear. We were scared about, people's health. We were scared about the survivability of the company. But we didn't want to make a decision in that fearful state, because nothing good comes of those decisions. So we really did. We checked the fear at the door, and we said we're going to lead with compassion. And I think it's rare where you could look back, and with the scope of what has happened, and not regret decisions. But I don't think there's a decision we would regret that we made. We really kind of allowed the employees to make their own decisions based on their level of comfort, and their own family situations. And we didn't force anybody into a decision that they didn't want to make. And we got assistance from the government, which was a lifeline. And the company came through it, and I think that the team felt that we were allies for them. The last thing they needed was to be forced out of a job. If that's, there was enough stress and tension and fear all around us, so that we didn't want to pile onto that. And I think the team is more cohesive because of the way the company came through that. And it's still upon us, but I think that was a supreme challenge for the company, for us as individuals, for everybody on our team. And I'm very proud of the way the company came through it and the way the team came through it. And, hopefully we won't have a situation that rivals that or the hurricane, because those are pretty rare events. But if we're around for 20 years, another 20 years, there'll probably be something else we can't even foresee. My advice would be kind of where we started. Be ready to roll up your sleeves and work. There's zero substitute for hard work. There's no free lunch out there. And, sometimes I think in my earlier years, I think I might have looked at my grandfather, and maybe he had a new car or something, and I'm like, oh wow, that's great to have your own business. But we did have the privilege of living with our grandparents every summer growing up, and then we'd go to the shop and we would see oh wow, they're working. Our grandmother too worked in the shop too with our grandfather. And so I think we kind of knew deep down inside that there's a lot of work, but we've been tested many times along the way. And even when you get to points where you think oh, maybe I don't have to work as hard, you just have to be ready to just always work. If you work hard, if you treat people right, if you have your customer's best interest in mind, and you support the team, and you get back to what Dave is saying, where let people pursue their passion and put them in an environment where they can thrive, you're gonna succeed. But that's not easy,
We have a little bit of a running joke with me and my team members is, with the evolution of this company, I've held a lot of positions, right? I was an office manager, I was an aide, I was a transport driver. I've been in all positions, and the running joke is that every one of those positions got better when I gave up the position. So if you have talent and you have good people around you, I would say that the best thing to do is to make sure that they have the opportunity to showcase their talents, and they're going to be happy, and they're going to do great, and they're going to have success. And their success is our success.